My name is Michael Turner. I'm 51 years old, and this is the story of how my son's first betrayal left me speechless, until my late wife's diary told me the truth he'd been hiding. If you enjoy real-life stories like mine, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. It started on a Tuesday, which feels wrong somehow. You expect your life to crack open on a dramatic day, a storm, an anniversary, a milestone. But this was just a gray, ordinary Tuesday in late October. The kind of day you forget unless something unforgettable happens. I remember the smell of coffee, the hum of the fridge, the weak morning light across the kitchen table. I was getting ready for work, sorting the mail like always. Bills, junk, a flyer for gutter cleaning, a bank envelope with our last name printed in black letters, Turner. My son, Alex, was upstairs, 17 years old, sharp, funny. My wife, Emily, used to joke that he got his brains from her and his stubbornness from me. She'd been gone almost 3 years, now cancer, and, since then, Alex and I had been circling each other, trying and failing to build something that felt like a family. I opened the bank envelope without thinking. I wish I could say I felt something in that moment. Some warning, a chill, a whisper that said don't, but there was nothing. Just the tear of paper and the scrape of the chair against tile as I sat down. The statement inside wasn't from my usual checking account. It was a savings account I didn't recognize. Same bank, same address, same last name, but not my name. Primary account holder, Alex Turner. Conor, Emily Turner. My heart stuttered. The account had been opened 4 years earlier, while Emily was still alive, while I'd been working double shifts and sleeping in hospital chairs, believing we were telling each other everything that mattered. The balance at the top of the page made my stomach twist. $42,387.16. I read it twice. The numbers didn't change. Underneath was a list of deposits, regular ones, all marked the same way. Transfer from joint checking, memo, college fund. Our joint checking. The same account I'd watched dwindle as medical bills piled up, as overtime became normal, as I picked up odd jobs to keep us afloat. The same account I'd blamed myself for mismanaging when the late notices started coming. Emily had always handled the big picture finances, especially when she got too sick for anything else. "I've got it," she'd say, from her armchair, laptop balanced on weak legs. "You just focus on being here." I thought she was paying hospital bills, mortgage, utilities. I didn't know she was quietly funneling money into an account with only 2 names on it tanned. Mine wasn't one of them. For Alex, the boy we both loved. For Alex, and not for us. The room seemed to tilt. The clock on the wall got louder, each second a small hammer tapping against the life I thought I understood. There had to be an explanation, a mistake, something. My pulse pounded in my ears as I flipped the page, looking for transfers after her death. There they were. Smaller amounts, irregular, but still there. Starting 3 months after Emily's funeral. Almost always right after my paycheck hit our account. Transfer from joint checking, online user, A. Turner. Alex, my son. The gut punch landed then, solid and devastating. He'd known about the account, of course he had. His name was on it. He'd watched his mother die, watched me sell my truck and cash out my small retirement fund to keep us from losing the house. And the whole time there was money sitting in an account I didn't know existed. In his name, in hers, not in mine. I don't know how long I sat there staring at those lines. Time blurred. Memories I'd stored awaymily, whispering with Alex in the hallway. Texts that went silent when I walked into the room. Late-night knocks on his door shifted in my mind. Hints I'd dismissed. Moments I'd ignored. Threads I hadn't pulled on because I trusted them. And with one thin sheet of paper, that trust began to split down the middle. I heard footsteps on the stairs above me. Alex, awake. The floorboard outside his room creaked the same way it always did. A moment later, his voice floated down, casual, unaware. "Dad, you still here?" I looked at the statement in my hand, then at the ceiling. In that instant, our life had two versions, the one before I knew, and the one after. I folded the paper with shaking hands. "Yeah," I called back, my voice calm. I just didn't know it yet, but inside, everything had already changed. For the rest of that morning, I moved through the house like someone wading through heavy water, slow, distorted, unsure what was real anymore. Alex came down the stairs, pulling on a sweatshirt, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked so normal, so familiar. The same kid I'd cooked breakfast for 1,000 mornings. The same kid whose hair Emily used to ruffle until he rolled his eyes. "Hey, Dad," he said, grabbing an apple from the counter. "I've got a group project after school. I'll be home late." His voice held no guilt, no awareness, no tremor that suggested he'd been siphoning money from our joint account for years. He brushed past me to tie a shoelace, humming softly. And I stood there, staring at the boy I loved and suddenly didn't fully recognize. "Alex," I said, unable to stop myself, "do you know anything about a savings account?" He paused, just slightly, barely perceptible, but I saw it. A flicker, a tightening of his shoulders. Then he turned casually, face smooth, almost too smooth. "A savings account? No. Why?" "Bank sent the wrong statement," I lied. "Had our last name on it." His smile was small, controlled. "Yeah, weird. Banks screw up all the time." He grabbed his keys and disappeared out the front door before I could say anything else. The quiet left behind felt thick, heavy, wrong. I sat down at the kitchen table again. The bank statements spread out in front of me like some kind of autopsy report, clinical, revealing a truth I wasn't ready to face. My son's first betrayal. The words stung even in my mind. Alex had always been good, flawed, stubborn, occasionally reckless, sure, but good. The boy who once cried when he accidentally stepped on a frog. The boy who left a note in my lunchbox on my birthday after Emily died. "I'm glad you're my dad. So how did we get here?" The unraveling threads began the moment I let myself remember. There had been signs, moments I shoved aside because grief made everything blurry and because trust makes you blind. I remembered Emily closing her laptop quickly when I came home early one evening. I remembered Alex whispering with her in low tones at the dining table, their heads bent closely together. I remembered asking Emily once, half joking, "What are you to plotting?" And her smiling too brightly, saying, "Just planning for the future," a phrase that now tasted bitter. I pressed my hands to my eyes and breathed deeply, but the anger slid in any ways low and steady, like a rising tide. Anger at Emily for keeping something so big from me. Anger at Alex for continuing it behind my back. Anger at myself for never noticing. The emotional fallout came in waves, confusion, hurt, disbelief, and underneath it all, a shame I couldn't admit out loud, not even to myself. What kind of father doesn't see his own child betraying him? By late afternoon, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I dug through the hall closet, where we'd stored Emily's boxers. Her scarves still smelled faintly like lavender. I pushed past framed photos, old birthday cards, her worn leather purse. Then I found it, the diary, a soft, navy blue book I'd seen her write in 4 years. I always assumed it was thoughts, reflections, maybe even letters to Alex for after she was gone. I knew better than to read it then, but now it felt like the only place that might hold an answer. My hands shook as I opened it. The first pages were what I expected notes about her treatments, fears she didn't speak aloud, things she wished she could tell Alex when he was older. My chest ached reading her handwriting, again loopy, careful, beautifully familiar. Then I reached an entry dated 8 months before she died. My breath hitched. I opened the account today, the one in Alex's name. I hate keeping secrets from Michael, but I don't have a choice. He wouldn't understand, not now, not with everything on his shoulders. I need to make sure Alex has a future, even if I'm not here to guide him. My throat tightened. I know it's wrong to move money without telling him, but what he doesn't know is that he will need every spare dollar soon, more than he realizes. I frowned. Need it for what? I turned the page. The doctor said I should prepare for the worst. I can't let Michael drown in debt trying to save me. He will try, God. He will try. But I must protect him from himself. If the money stays where he can reach it, he'll use it all on treatments that won't change the outcome. I froze. The room tilted againly this time, not from betrayal, but from understanding that hurt in an entirely different way. Emily hadn't been hiding money to hurt me. She had been hiding it to save me. I kept reading. This isn't just for Alex, it's for Michael too. Someday he'll see why, but I didn't see, not yet. And then I found something worse, or better. I couldn't tell. A later entry, short, barely a paragraph. Alex knows the truth now. He understands what we have to do. I asked him not to tell Michael. It's too painful for him already. I hope one day he forgives us. Forgive. The word landed like a stone in my stomach. Forgive them for what? Forgive them for saving me, for protecting me, or for lying to me. The diary trembled in my hands as the truth continued to unfold. The betrayal I thought belonged to my son might not be betrayal at all, but something far more complicated, far more devastating, and far from The diary sat open on my lap, its pages fluttering slightly each time my breath hitched. I had come looking for answers, maybe even an explanation I could rage at, something clean, something simple. Instead, every word only tangled the truth further, pulling me into a maze where betrayal and love looked dangerously similar. I stared at the last entry I'd read, the one where Emily wrote, "Alex knows the truth now." Alex knew. He had known for years. He hadn't stumbled onto the account. He hadn't misused it, at least not at first. He had been brought into this secret. My hands tightened around the diary's spine. The house was too quiet, almost accusingly so. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the whir of the heater kicking on, the whisper of leaves outside. Everything mundane, everything unchanged. And yet inside me, the ground was shifting. I needed air. I stepped outside and sat on the front steps, the October cold seeping through my jeans. My mind churned with questions, fragments of memories, pieces I hadn't understood before. Why didn't she tell me? Why burden Alex with a secret this heavy? Why trust him with something she didn't trust me with? I closed my eyes, and the past rushed in. I remembered the hospital room where Emily lay pale and exhausted, Alex holding her hand, whispering something I wasn't close enough to hear. I remembered asking later what they'd talked about, and Alex shrugging, saying, "Just stuff." I remembered standing in the kitchen, bills spread out like falling leaves, telling her I didn't know how we were going to pay for everything. And I remembered her voice, soft, sharp, final. "Let me handle it, Michael, please." I thought she was overwhelmed. I thought she was trying to spare me the stress. But now it all looked different. The threads were unraveling, and every single one led back to a moment I had never seen clearly. I went back inside, sat at the table again, and opened the diary to the next entry. Alex asked me today if I'm scared. I told him the truth, yes. But I'm more scared of what will happen to his father when I'm gone. Michael loves with his whole soul. He will destroy himself trying to save me. I can't let him do that. The words blurred through my tears. I had loved her fiercely, completely, but she saw that love as a danger, as something that needed boundaries or protection from me. Another entry. I know I'm asking too much of Alex. He's only 13, but he understands more than most adults. He knows why we're moving the money. He knows not to breathe a word of it. I slammed the diary shut, chest tight. She had made him part of her plan, part of her fear, part of her final days, and she had shut me out. I didn't know whether to break down or scream. The betrayal suddenly looked less like a wound inflicted by my son and more like a wound both of us had inherited, a legacy neither of us asked for. But there were still things that didn't make sense. The transfers after she died, the money moving out of our joint account months later. Was Alex continuing something she started, or was he doing something else entirely? I flipped ahead. The entry dated 2 weeks before she passed was short. I told Alex where the paperwork is. He promised to keep things going no matter what happens. I trust him. He loves his father enough to do this. Do what? Keep what going? My head spun. The weight of it, all the secrecy, the fear, the trust she placed in our teenage son instead of me, settled heavily in my chest. I had spent months thinking Alex was drifting from me out of apathy, or grief, or teen anger. But what if he'd been carrying a burden too heavy for his age? What if every withdrawal I saw as betrayal was actually him following instructions meant for a future my wife had been trying to protect? Or worse, what if the instructions weren't complete and Alex had been navigating in the dark? My stomach twisted. I looked at the clock. Almost 5. Alex would be home soon. The thought sent a mix of dread and urgency through me. I had to talk to him. I had to understand what he knew, what he didn't, what he had done. But the thought of confronting him made my throat tighten. Would he lie? Would he confess? Would he even understand the truth anymore after holding it alone for so long? I didn't know, but I knew this. Our family, what was left of it, was built on a foundation Emily had cracked before she died, a fault line that ran through both of us. The betrayal wasn't just Alex's, it wasn't just Emily's. It was a fracture born from fear, love, secrecy, and desperate hope. And if I didn't tread carefully, that fracture could become permanent. I placed the diary gently on the table. Then I heard the door unlock. Alex was home. The moment of truth had arrived. Alex stepped into the house with the same careless motion he always had, shoes half untied, backpack hanging off one shoulder, hair pushed back like he'd been running his hands through it all day. He looked like any 17-year-old walking into an ordinary evening, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. "Hey, Dad," he said, dropping his keys on the counter. There's leftover pizza, right? I'm starving. He didn't notice the diary on the table at first, or the way my hands were clasped too tightly, or the silence thick, waiting, electric. Then he saw my face, his steps faltered. ... Did something happen? I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit. He froze, eyes narrowing with that sudden instinct kids get when they know something is very, very wrong. Slowly, he sank into the chair. His fingers drummed anxiously on the table. I took a steadying breath and opened the diary to the page where his name first appeared. Alex, I began. Careful, quiet. I found this today. His eyes dropped to the diary. He didn't touch it, didn't even swallow. He just went still. You went through Mom's things, he said softly. I did. He blinked rapidly, shifting in his seat. Okay, and what did you read? I didn't answer his question, not directly. Instead, I slid the bank statement forward. I found this too, his face drained of color. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The air hummed with the weight of everything unspoken between us. Years of grief, years of assumptions, years of things we never dared say. Finally, he whispered, I tried to tell her it wasn't fair, that you deserved to know. My throat tightened, but you didn't tell me. He looked away. She made me promise. Dad, she made me promise. His voice cracked on the last word. I leaned forward. Alex, your mother was sick, dying. She wasn't thinking clearly. She shouldn't have put that on you. He shook his head quickly. No, she knew exactly what she was doing. She told me you'd try to save her, even if it meant losing the house, draining every dollar, ruining yourself. She said she had to protect you from your own heart. I flinched. The truth of it hit like a blow. I would have done anything, sold everything, gone into debt for decades. She knew that, and she wanted Alex to shield me from it. Dad, he whispered, she didn't trust you to stop trying, and she trusted you instead. I asked, not angry, just shattered. Alex wiped his eyes with the sleeve of his hoodie. I wasn't supposed to handle all of it. I was just supposed to know about the account. She told me she'd leave instructions, but she never finished them. My heart dropped. What do you mean? He swallowed hard. After she died, I went to the spot where she kept important things, but the envelope she mentioned it wasn't there. I thought maybe she changed her mind, or maybe she forgot. Everything was happening so fast. He paused, trembling. When the bills kept piling up, and you kept blaming yourself, and I kept hearing you say we'd figure it out somehow, I panicked. I thought the money was supposed to help us get back on track. I thought that's what she wanted. My chest tightened painfully. So you took it? He nodded, small and ashamed. I took some, not all. I used it for groceries when you picked up extra shifts, for school fees you didn't know about, for things you were too tired to remember. His voice dropped, and once or twice I used a little for myself, just stupid stuff. I didn't know how to stop. There it was, the truth, a mixture of duty, confusion, fear, and temptation. The betrayal wasn't clean. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't the kind of wound you could blame on a single action. It was messy, layered, human. I thought I was doing what Mom wanted, he whispered. I didn't want you to know, because I didn't want you to think she didn't trust you. He finally looked at me, eyes red and pleading. I wasn't trying to hurt you, Dad, I swear. The anger I'd expected to feel never came. The betrayal that had stabbed me earlier now felt different. Heavy, still painful, but tangled with guilt and grief in ways I never imagined. because now I understood. My wife had built a foundation of secrecy, believing it was love. My son had inherited that secrecy, believing it was responsibility, and I was left in the rubble of both. I exhaled slowly. Alex, you shouldn't have had to carry this alone. His face crumpled. I didn't know what else to do. I moved my chair closer, lowering my voice. We're going to fix this together. But from now on, no more secrets. Not from you, not from me, not from anyone. He nodded, trembling. Okay, and Alex, yeah. You don't have to protect me anymore. This time, he broke. He leaned into me, shoulders shaking, and for the first time in years, I held my son while he cried, not from grief for his mother, but from the weight of everything she left behind. As I wrapped my arms around him, something inside me shifted. The foundation hadn't just cracked, it had exposed everything underneath. And now, finally, we could start rebuilding. In the days that followed our conversation, the house felt different, not lighter, not heavier, just honest. Like a storm had blown through and taken every illusion with it, leaving the raw landscape of our life finally visible. Alex moved through the rooms more quietly, but not in the guarded way he had before. It was a different quiet one born from exhaustion and relief. He no longer avoided eye contact. He no longer flinched when he walked past the table where the diary still sat. And for the first time since Emily died, he lingered when we talked, as if he wasn't afraid the truth would break us anymore. The truth had broken us, but it had also freed us. Still, rebuilding didn't happen overnight. The cracks in our family didn't magically seal shut just because we understood them better. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook open, trying to list the bills that needed attention. The savings account Emily created still sat in my mind like a question mark, $42,000, that didn't feel like mine or Alex's, or even hers anymore. It felt like a ghost, a reminder of everything she feared and everything she tried to protect. Alex hovered in the doorway. Dad, can we talk? I motioned for him to sit. He looked nervous, against a little, but this time he didn't hide it. What happens now? He asked. With the money? With all of it? I folded my hands. I don't know yet. But whatever happens, we'll decide together. He nodded slowly, like he wasn't used to the idea of being included. Mom wanted us to be okay. She did, I said gently. She just didn't know her plan would put us on opposite sides of the same lie. He winced. I hate that I kept things from you. I hate that you felt like you had to. Silence settled between us, not awkward, just real. You know, he said after a moment, I always thought you were strong, but not in the way Mom meant. Not in the heal, try too hard way. More like you'd take care of everything, no matter how tired you were. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Sometimes strength looks like stubbornness when you're scared. Were you scared? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. Losing her changed everything. And I didn't want to lose you, too. He rubbed his palms together. I thought if I told you about the money, you'd be mad. Or you'd think she didn't trust you. I didn't want to hurt you. The painful irony was not lost on either of us. Hurt, born from the fear of causing hurt. That's how families fracture, quietly, slowly, through misunderstanding rather than malice. After dinner, I found myself sitting alone with the diary again. But this time, instead of searching for answers, I searched for closure. I flipped to one of the final entries, one I hadn't noticed before. If Michael is reading this, it means Alex trusted him enough to let him in. That's all I ever wanted. not to keep secrets forever. Just to buy enough time for the two of them to find each other again without me. My breath caught. Please forgive me. I didn't hide things because I doubted you. I hid them because I loved you both too much to let my fear ruin your lives. Trust each other, even when it's hard. I closed the diary gently, my chest tightening with a complicated cocktail of love and grief. I missed her. I loved her. I resented the choices she made. I understood them too well. That was the legacy of a real marriage, love braided tightly with flaws. A few days later, Alex and I drove to the bank together. We closed the old savings account and opened a new one, jointly, equally, transparently. We moved the money into it, and for the first time, it felt like ours, not a secret inheritance or an emotional landmine. We'll use this wisely, I said, for your future. And mine too. Alex smiled, a little unsure but sincere. Together, I said. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some nights, I lay awake, wondering if Emily had ever planned to tell me. Other nights, I wondered if she'd truly believed she was sparing me. Some mornings, I woke up angry. Others, grateful. But every day, Alex and I rebuilt something small: conversations, shared meals, real honesty. One night he stood hesitantly in the doorway of my room. Dad, yeah. He rubbed the back of his neck. Do you think Mom would be proud of us? I thought for a long moment. Yes, I said, finally. Not because we were perfect, but because we kept trying, even when it hurt. He nodded, blinking hard, and whispered, I'm proud of us too. The foundation of our family had cracked, but cracks let light in. And in that light, we found something stronger than the illusion of perfection. We found the truth, a truth we could build on, a truth that would shape the rest of our lives. And for the first time since Emily's death, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever: resilience. Not the kind born from denial or toughness, the kind born from breaking and choosing to stand anyway.